question.
What did we talk about? Stuff?
That's Archie's sister.
What did we talk about?
Homosexuality.
We talked about the origin of homosexuality, probably the most prominent thing that we talked about, where it actually came from.
Oh, you came back again and started talking about it again, cause you, oh, okay.
I talked about, were you here when I talked about, that it says that, and he, oh, wait a minute, let me get it right. My Genesis, okay. That's it, Genesis 2, isn't it? Yeah. Where it talks about him making help me.
Yeah,
Were you here then?
uh-huh.
Okay, and when I talked about meet means to surround,
You talked about that here?
That wasn't last week,
You didn't talk
That
about
wasn't,
that.
cause I remember talking about.
let me tell you something.
My purge files aren't recollecting that one.
Wait a minute, wait a minute till I get there. Okay, let me get there. No,
Just as far as red new face.
I do, now come on, you know how it
Just
is.
throwing out all
I
these
teach a lot of stuff.
That's why I'm throwing them out for one of those locations.
Okay, and Adam gave names to all the Calvin, but for Adam, that was not found in help me for him. See that? In 2 and 20. And you don't remember me talking about that last week?
Now, I might have been at it. I know me. I have my moments.
Yeah,
But,
you do.
yeah.
We talked about that.
to agree with
that.
I wasn't here last week, but we talked about that the last time I was here.
Okay, now, when I talked about the idea, that the word, meat, is there but help meat is not.
We talked about whether or
Huh?
not, how sleep Adam was when he took the rib and all that stuff.
Okay, that's, I remember that one. Okay, if you look at the word meat, it takes you, to, 5820 in the Hebrew, but then, it comes from a root of 5826, which is a primitive root, means to surround, to protect, or aid, or to help. See that? Now, that's where they got help meat from, okay? Now, but it also means to surround. And what I was talking about was this, that if you look at it from the perspective of energy and not physicality, got it? Because at this juncture, neither one of them are physical. So what happens here is that there was no helpmeet found for Adam, right? Now let's go to the spot where where did he make her?
Make who?
Wait a minute. Let's go back up before the cattle. Okay, 18. And the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet for him. Got that? You see that in 18?
Okay.
Okay.
The Bible says helper, so.
Helpmeet is what it translates from the King. This King James says. I'm not aware at the moment what the New American Standard says. You got the New American Standard on?
No, sir.
You got King James?
King James.
Oh, have mercy. Who has New American Standard?
I can get it for you.
Okay.
You want 218?
Yeah, 218, New American Standard, and look up the translation for help me, that last sentence I would make. And while he's doing that.
It says, I will, for the New American Standards, helper, him a helper, so.
Okay, so that's helper. But one of the root is surround.
Okay.
Now, the idea of homosexuality, what I was speaking about is this, that
Ooh, excuse me.
that when Yahweh Elohim said it wasn't good for man or for Adam, to be or to exist alone or exist by himself. So he said, I will form a meat or a surrounding for him, because help for him is not there. Make, meet are the words that's highlighted. So I will form a surrounding for him. So what I got from that is this, that the feminine energy was there surrounding the masculine,
And
the Adam.
another thing, once I look at, because in here, well, for this version, it says, I will make him a helper suitable for him. And then when you look at suitable neged, it keeps on saying in front of.
Okay.
Mm.
So the whole concept is this, and this the without the surrounding or without the influence of the feminine, there is no survival for the masculine in terms of being able to bring into being that which he was created to bring into being. He cannot be who he is without the feminine. Am I making sense?
Yes.
So
Now-
all that goes back then to what we were talking about in terms of the feminine aspect being the nurturing,
Yes.
where things are shaped.
And it's even bigger than that, Bob.
Can I make this call?
Sure. Yeah, but it's even bigger, and I'll wait until you do that before I really get into it, because it's much larger than the idea of nurturing. It does include that, but what we're going to see is that it is imperative that we recognize the need for the feminine maintaining the prominence that the feminine was given from the beginning.
Okay.
Okay? If you really think about it, there is no Elohim without the feminine. There is no Adam without the feminine. There is no Yahweh without the feminine, because everything must be nurtured. So the nurturing process is in the nature of the Creator, and the nature of the Creator is what's in what was created.
I got a question. So, everything is spiritual. So, what really happened in here, or physical, really didn't happen? Or it didn't
It
happen?
did, but it's a manifestation of the spiritual.
Of the spirit.
Yeah. See, keep in mind that this was not written by the spiritual being. By the time the tablets came or the scrolls were written, the spiritual had become physical. So there had to be a physical, not necessarily a physical record, but a physical sense of reminding of what we are or who we are.
One thing about it's just like when you're making love and you get pregnant and you had a baby, whatever.
Yeah. And it's like, well, it's even more involved than that.
Right.
Yeah, because what happens is, when you even look at that, most of the time, making love and ending up pregnant comes out of a desire to please yourself anyway. It's not that we go make a baby.
Right.
That's not necessarily.
That's never
And most
some
times,
people
well, it involved with a couple of our kids, but the first one,
Right,
that's usually not in the forefront of your mind.
You're right. That's true.
But the pregnancy is necessary in order for time to march on, so that we have opportunity to look at who we really are, as opposed to the babies we're really producing. We're much more than the offspring in a physical sense.
Gotcha.
So we have to, or the fruit of the womb. We're more than the physical fruit of the womb. That's what I'm trying to say. And so when we take opportunity to look at the feminine, and we see that the prominence of the feminine is that it surrounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
it surrounds that male seed. So what happens is, from the beginning, before there was a physical eye or hand or leg, there was a spiritual womb. Because the womb surrounds the seed. The masculine is the seed. So the womb surrounds the seed. Now, and I want to come back and talk about Adam and Adama pretty soon, okay? The womb surrounds the seed. Well, let me do that now. And, well, now let me back up. The womb surrounds the seed, and the seed begins to reach fruition within the womb because of the protection and the nourishment that's provided by the womb itself.
Okay.
Now, what happened is that when the man or the masculine seed said, when he was put to sleep, this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, for this cause shall a man leave, Ish rather, leave father and mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
And cleave to Isha. He recognized in himself, he saw the feminine and masculine fire, energy, light. And he described, he called Ish and Isha come from the word fire. What he saw was a feminine and masculine fire, enlightenment from both pillows. That's what he saw. And he said that leave father and mother. Who was father and mother? The reason he said father and mother is because the creator is both masculine and feminine.
Right.
Okay, now, this feminine energy was destined to bring into fruition the reality of Elohim. Thank you, dear. Was to bring into fruition the reality of Elohim. We know
For
who we
security
are.
purposes, this call has been
That's what
terminated.
it was
Please contact
destined
your
to do.
moderator
Okay?
and verify the time
Now,
and date.
rather than do that, the masculine seed began to dominate. And it began to nurture what it felt was right. Men began to take over. If you can see it from the physical, and now look at it from the spiritual. The reason it is manifested that men and the physical are dominating women is because that's what happened in the spiritual. Now, so if that happened in the spiritual, then you look at the whole concept of the surrounding the womb. So it was the concept of the spirituality that was supposed to be nurtured in the feminine womb, but man began to do it on his own. He became the womb from the nurturing of the seed. And what I mean by that is this. Men are the one who writes the commentaries. Men are the ones who determine what religious concepts are legitimate and not the ones that are not legitimate. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Men are the one who are doing this. And they've been doing this ever since the man made a decision to see that separation and make the decision to separate from father and mother and what transpired when they were there in the garden. Remember? Mm-hmm. Okay. You know the what we call the fall thing. Ever since that happened, that is what man has been doing. He has been both the seed and the womb. Now, if the man is the seed and the womb, then what am I saying? He's surrounding himself, right? So if he's both the seed and the womb, then what happens? What happens? What's the result?
Nothing.
What's the physical result of that?
Homosexuality.
Homosexuality. Because
But what's the product?
the product is a bastardized understanding of the scriptures.
Okay, all right.
That's the product.
So that's what he births.
That's what he births. A bastardized understanding of the scripture. And let me inject this. I am so tired of listening to pastors talk about homosexuals should be put in a pen and killed, or homosexuals should be stoned to death. I'm so tired of that. And they are making reference to the 20th chapter of Leviticus Leviticus, the 20th chapter, I think it's around verse 18, that they're, 14, but that they're making reference to. But I solicit them, go back and read verses 8, 9, and 10. Because if you read verses 8, 9, and 10, you will also find that it talks about a man who commits adultery should be stoned to death. It also talks about if you disrespect your parents, you should be stoned to death. So you know, if you're going to say that homosexuals should be stoned to death because of what's in Leviticus, in the same chapter that these things are in, then you have to deal with all of it, do you not?
Correct.
So this has to have a deeper meaning than that. Now, so you end up with a bastardized spirituality, and that is the reason people feel so comfortable, men especially, in doing saying what they say concerning people who are homosexual. Now, you say, well, that's male. Well, if the male is surrounding himself, as opposed to allowing the feminine prominence to avail itself of what it was created to do, then what happens with the feminine? The feminine is left alone. And in an effort to bring about some sort of change, the feminine does the same thing, and which results in lesbianism. Now this is the thing that you keep in mind, that people deal with male homosexuality more vehemently than they do female homosexuality. Think about
Because men think it's cute.
it. But see what she said. Men think it's cute. Men are making the decisions. You see?
Yeah.
Men think it's cute. But men don't think it's cute when it's them. That's the difference.
Why?
Because men are the ones who are making the decisions. They are uncomfortable with it, but they're not uncomfortable when it's somebody else.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. And I am saying that this whole idea, this whole concept of the war on females is actually birthed by what we and probably others are doing to reestablish or to become more aware of the prominence that femininity must have if balance is to be brought back to this world. Can you see that?
Yes.
Because the attack is not only what female education, as it has been, and it has been like that. It's not only on woman driving, as it was. It's not on a woman voting, as it once was. It is on her reproductive system, the nurturing, the womb. You see. So the more we deal with the necessity and the prominence of the female, the feminine energy, the more the battle is waged to stop that. And think about it this way. The battle is waged by whom? Men who feel like they are above reproach. They can do anything that they want to do. Men who have a wide stance in a bathroom. The homosexual dude, who has a wide stance in the bathroom, and that's okay. But the same men who support him are not condemning him, but they're condemning all other homosexuals.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the same group of men is railing against everything that relates to female reproduction. Can you see that? Now, we have to, and this is far more about spirituality than it is about politics. It just manifests as politics, but this thing is totally spiritual. And when you look at it, look at what it says about the countries. Uncle Sam wants you. The country is masculine. Or not, I don't know what it is, because the whole concept of America, the word itself is more feminine than masculine. Look at Germany, the fatherland. Russia. You see what I'm talking about? References are made to the nation, the major as fatherland, as opposed to Mother Earth. You know who say Mother Earth? Most indigenous people, the natives, say Mother Earth. And that is one of the reasons Jean-Paul Sartre wrote that they meaning the colonizers, came with the word, but the natives, and found that the natives were using it. In other words, the natives that they began to colonize were already, they were not aware of the word in the book, they were it. And they were utilizing it in their everyday life because it wasn't a part of their life, it was just who they were. And they understood the naked truth of it, but the colonizers sought to, they preferred it being clothed, meaning hidden, because they didn't want to face the naked truth. And that's paraphrasing, of course, what he wrote the intro to The Wretched of the Earth, and that was part of what he said in that writing. Now, when you look at that in reference to the understanding that indigenous people had of the land being a womb, Mother Earth, why did they make reference to it as Mother Earth? Because you put the seed in the earth and it nurtures the seed, and that's what brings you food. That's the bottom line. Now, how do you look at that from a spiritual perspective? And the Lord God took from the dust of the ground, right? And took the dust of the ground and formed the Adam. If you look at that word, dust of the ground, look at the word is Adama. Adama is the feminine of Adam. And if Adama is the feminine of Adam, it has to have a meaning. The Adam, the masculine, the Adam, right, was made from the dust of the earth, the thoughts, the concept of the feminine. So it was made from a womb.
Right.
Can you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what happens is that what manifests in this world is the earth or the ground manifests in the physical, which is still a womb.
Yeah.
But the seed that's put in this ground is a physical seed that nourishes a physical body. So the question is, if the Adama is manifested as the physical ground, where is the manifestation of the spiritual seed?
Is that rhetorical?
You would like for it to be, wouldn't you?
No.
Think about it. Where's the manifestation of the spiritual seed? I'm walking out there now. Getting ready to walk out there. You can take a stab at it. I don't mind.
I think we're it.
No.
I'm still trying to text you.
I believe this, that the spiritual seed is hidden with the olive. Manifest, and it's manifested in messianic awareness, messianic consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And the womb that is nurtured in is yours, mine, all of ours. Because all of us are made from the Adama, the ground.
Right.
You see, the Adama is manifested in the physical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's from the Adama that all of us were made. So I, as a physical male, must recognize that in order for me to become more aware of who I am, or to live the life, or to express or experience who I am created to be, I must nurture my desire in the feminine energy that I have. And in doing so, I must have the utmost respect for the feminine energy that's manifested in a physical female. Because
So then her answer was correct.
I don't know.
That's what you just said.
Yeah.
I don't,
That if the spiritual seed is hidden
yeah,
in the womb of
olive.
But
Yeah, left.
Olive, but you know, I'm just
Well, but
saying.
you're right, it's left because they're ASL.
But I'm saying though, if that's so, then if that's the divine spark in us, it is hidden in plain sight in a sense.
Right.
In that it's not until we become aware or begin that journey of awareness that the spiritual seed then really begins to be nurtured appropriately.
Right.
So if she says it's in us,
Okay.
then I don't know
Then
what
it
Barbara
is.
was thinking
I didn't
that,
want Reverend
but
to be right. Carolyn brought her here.
see, that's why.
That's why nobody don't be fooling with her. I wish the people on camera could have seen what, anyway.
But it is hidden in plain sight in a sense.
Yeah, it is. Left.
In,
And the reason it's so important, Barbara, that I recognize the correction of left is because the reason it's pronounced the way it is because the olive is hidden. It's left.
well, but I even hear some of the Hebrew
Yeah,
pronunciation is olive.
And they miss it too, just like I do. And I probably did it because I talked to them about it. But it's actually left. The other thing about it is this. When you look at the reference that's made about Jesus being in the earth, when you look at male theologians primarily, who talk about, or male pastors who talk about the whole concept of homosexuality, they always go back to the Old Testament for that, but they don't go back for many other things. They go back when it's convenient.
Right.
But then they want to bring you, fast forward you to Romans 1:20, where I think it's 1:20, somewhere in that area, where it talks about they exchanged the truth for a lie, and then there's some other stuff in there. And then the results of it was that because they changed the truth for a lie, that men have passions for men and women have passions for women. Now, the whole idea of the whole question is, what truth has been exchanged for a lie? You see? What truth has been exchanged for a lie? What truth? What truth has been exchanged for a lie? What reality has been exchanged for a reality created by those who are unaware of what's real? What's that truth? The truth that's been exchanged for a lie is the message that the scripture really tells. The lie is what has been put out there or promulgated by the male-dominated society of theologians and post-Constantine Christianity. That's the lie. The lie is, for example, the whole concept of hell, as we have been taught, is unknown to the scriptures. Now, if I were to go to a congregation who are always talking about hell and brimstone, and you're going to hell for this, and you're going to hell for that, and go to hell for this, and going to hell for that, right? Mm-hmm. So, I go to those same theologians, right, those same people, and I say to these people, please answer this for me if you will. Was it a sin? Was slavery a sin? Was it a sin to lynch African Americans? Was it a sin to castrate slaves? Was it a sin for slave masters and slave overseers to go into the slave quarters and rape the women? Was that a sin? There's no way you can say it's not a sin. So what you're telling me then is George Washington, Thomas Jefferson in hell. All the slave masters in hell. Everybody who went along with the Ku Klux Klan is in hell. Because that's what you're telling me. How do you think they're going to deal with that? Because you cannot separate it. You cannot take it based upon who you are and sit it to the side and say because George Washington was the quote-unquote father of this nation. And I put that in huge quotation. If you're going to say that he didn't go to hell because of that, then what about all the other hell he did? Because he had slaves up until he died. And Thomas Jefferson said the most abominable sin of mankind is slavery. But hell, he had them. He never freed them. So don't tell me that you don't want me to burn, but you're going to leave me in the fire. It's an awful thing for you to burn, but you're not going to put me out the fire.
I would say those men were saved, though.
Huh?
They repented and they were saved.
No.
You don't think so?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. The Klansmen, the overseers, the Thomas Jefferson had opportunity to, but when he died, he had not. You can't tell me that you repented, but when you died, your slave was still slave. These are the points. So my whole point behind this is that you cannot pick and choose what you apply to, what the scriptures, who the scriptures apply to. You can't pick and choose that. You can't pick and choose that. Either it was applicable throughout history or it's not applicable now. That's what I'm saying. Because if rape is a sin now, it was a sin then. That's what I'm saying. And see, the challenges of that nature has not been put in their face. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons they say what they want to say, and they say it with impunity because they control everything. The whole concept of multiple perspective of homosexuality based upon who you are or what party you belong to or how much money you have has not been put in their face. Nobody puts it in their faces. Nobody does that. Why? Because they are Christians. They're pastors. I always remember the pastor in Atlanta, Georgia, who railed against homosexuality vehemently. I mean, just with a passion, he railed against it. And then when he found out his son was a homosexual, the very next week, he said homosexuality, it was okay for homosexuals to be in the church. And most of the folk just walked out.
So you're saying that you don't think it's been in their face as a whole? Because I think anytime that you rail against something, it's gonna come back to you, and you either dismiss it or you either.
That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
When I say in their faces, nobody challenges the Southern Baptist or the Catholic Church.
Okay. Now
Nobody says to the Catholic Church, you know what? You can say all the BS you want about homosexuality, about sin and slavery. It wasn't a sin for you to be complicit in the executing of the Jews by Hitler.
Okay.
Deal with it.
Okay.
Catholicism, was it a sin for you to make money off of slavery? Catholicism, you gonna tell me that homosexuals go burn in hell and you hiding homosexuals in the Vatican? Put it in their face.
Yeah.
Nobody's challenging it like that.
Yet.
So, and I do believe that a lot of what's going on in terms of the energy shift is because of how we are approaching things, how we are putting it in the atmosphere, the truth of what's going on. We are dealing with it and desire to deal with it within the frameworks of the scripture. That is our deepest desire. And in order for that to happen, or for us to get results from it, these things have to bubble to the surface. Like the guy who talks about putting them in a pen and throwing food against the fence until they die out. You know, it might be his child he's throwing food to.
Exactly.
It might be him. You know, so.
And how can that be? How can even a pastor who is a pastor rail against homosexuality and on the one hand and know that they are committing that act on the other?
I don't know. I think they live in two different worlds in their head.
Sounds like a mental disorder.
Sound like a what?
A mental disorder.
And see,
You have to completely disassociate
right,
things. Like, it's just broken.
it's something deeply wrong with that. And not only that, rail against it as harshly as they do, and talk about killing them, talk about throwing food across the fence to them. These are humans. So in order for you to do that, you have to dehumanize the person. That's why we, as a people, were dehumanized, so that this association with humanity could take place. I believe, and keep us in slavery and treat us the way they did. I also believe this. I believe that we have to be very careful, because we are on a slippery slope of becoming, of our attitude shifting and becoming attitudes much like those of the animals that we created.
Well, that's the thing, you were talking about dehumanizing the people on the other side of the fence, but what does that turn you into, that you're
That's where I'm
comfortable
headed.
making a reference
That's where I'm headed.
to another human being
Yes.
that way, without any compassion or understanding
None whatsoever.
for them?
That the more materialistic we become, the more animalistic we become. We do not see the connection between the two. The more animalistic we become, we have become experts at killing, so we don't have to see the results of it. But we say that we are more humane because of the way people were killed in the past.
That's like Cain and Abel.
Yes. The more materialistic we become, the more, for example, a great example, a great expression of how animalistic we have become based upon our materialism. Look at how many people and how much money the people make, what kind of socioeconomic status they have, who look to keep dogs in their house. We didn't do that. Dogs outdoors.
Right.
But think about what I'm saying to you. The more materialistic we have become, the more we have leaned in that direction in terms of animalistic, and it's manifesting in us keeping what was outside in the house. So if that dog is kept in the house, but we never did that before because we saw the dog as being an animal that's beneath us, and now they come into the house and become our children.
They don't just come into the house, they go shopping, they
Yeah,
go to dinner,
the whole 9 yards.
everywhere.
I'm telling you, if I were to establish a dog grocery store,
Yes.
I would be a millionaire.
Yes, you would.
Well, it ain't too late.
Give me some. but you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So and people, I know there are people gonna say we stretching it,
They can say true.
but if you look at the way we have grown with our money,
Yeah.
our lifestyles are moving in that direction. We have to be very careful because we're on a slippery slope. People will do more for an animal than they will for you.
Yeah.
I can run over you in the street, back up over you, and get 2 years for manslaughter. Let me purposely run over a dog.
And you should be executed.
You see where I'm coming from? I can keep my mama in my house and feed her once every 2 or 3 days, and when she becomes emaciated and they find out about it, they may give me some time or probation. But let me starve a dog. Let me starve horses. You see? Let me. The only reason horses are not kept in the house, they're too big.
You're right, people love that.
Look at the stables that they're building for them.
I'm telling you.
There is a guy, in Union. His stable was more efficient in terms of the heating and air conditioning system, and cost more than my house.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And everyone who keeping these animals are not keeping them to sell. They're children. We have to be very careful how we deal with that. So when you talk about the dehumanization of mankind based upon sexual, I don't call it sexual preference, because nobody would prefer to be mistreated as homosexuals are.
Mhm.
I call it sexual orientation. And the orientation is not an orientation that comes from the outside. It's an internal thing that happens from the realm of the spirit. I believe that. Based upon the spiritual stuff that we taught about, the surrounding, we are responsible.
Is it me or I'm just glad the man said what he said openly because it needs to be dealt with.
Well, first of all, that's the thing I'm talking about. Had to bubble to the
Come
top.
on, yeah.
Yeah. If you don't search for answers, if you don't desire to see beyond what you see now, those things don't bubble to the top. They give you opportunity to explore what's really being said. Because these are thoughts that have really been out there. These are actions that have really been out there. These people really believe what they are saying until it becomes their child.
Right. Well, yeah.
They really believe that. I mean, when you look at the whole concept of how things are moving, the male seed of the African American and Hispanic is being enslaved through the prison system, if you really look at it. And it started with, but it increased, it accelerated with the one who was called the first black president. I ain't never figured out why they did that. He's the one who accelerated.
Who?
Bill Clinton.
Oh, okay.
And I truly believe he is the leader of the pack when it comes to defeat Obama. I believe that. In order to continue the journey. I'm saying to you this. If we don't expose what's in the scripture to the energy fields of this earth and deal with it from the depths of our heart, if we don't do this from not based upon what we want to happen, because we are too ignorant to know what we want to happen, because we too are products of the same system. And I don't mean American system, I'm talking about the system of mankind. Our desire cannot be what we want. Our desire must always be what the Father desires of us. It has to always be that. Because when the desire becomes the desire of the Father, it is at that point that we begin to manifest our thought patterns as Elohim. We began to see who we really are. We began to experience the depth of our being. We began to see beyond what these two eyes can see. We began to see through the third eye. And we began to see and say things that we had no idea was embedded in us. The key to it is this. If you really want to travel this journey in a very, very healthy way, healthy meaning spiritually, you cannot refrain from expressing what the Creator shows you based upon hurting somebody's feelings. You got to tell the truth.
So no compromising.
You can't. Now, having said that, there are ways that you have been taught to express the truth that you don't have to beat people up or crush them. Because crushing a person's spirit is just as dehumanizing as putting them in that fence that dude talked about. You know? You got something? Okay. Am I making sense to that?
Yes.
And I surely thought that I had taught this thing concerning homosexuality. But I guess I
Do
didn't.
it again.
Okay. Anyway, so when we look at,
Got a question.
go ahead, babe.
We say there's no coercion in spiritual things because it goes back to the concept of free will.
Yes.
And so I wonder why people don't even think about that when they when we start being judgmental,
Yeah.
when we start putting down someone because of whatever,
Right.
we don't think about the fact that I can't make somebody believe like I believe.
Well, see, and that's the maleness creating, the maleness nurturing the seed. When the male nurtures the seed, he's very harsh. When the female nurtures the seed, she's gentle but firm. When the male nurtures the seed, the male cannot see clearly. The male says that the thing that's wrong with homosexual marriage is that God didn't intend for it to be. But the feminine energy sees something different. The feminine energy sees that marriage is a civil event. And nobody's telling the church, of course in quotation, that you have to perform those marriages. But if you're going to look at it from civil society, then they have just as much right to be married as anyone else does. Why? Because the validity of a marriage does not come from the church. It comes from that marriage license that's issued by the state. If the validity of the marriage was totally in the hands of the church, then the marriage, the whole concept of marriage would be separated from the government, church and state. Am I making sense? The reason that they don't want to separate it, especially now, is because it is that marriage license that proves that y'all are married and you can get what they have when they die. It's about inheritance. The other part of it is this. You cannot force other people to believe what you believe. Therefore, you can't say that all marriages are based on Christianity, because if they are, then Muslims and Hindus are not married. And if you say that the whole concept of marriage is what is the thing that keeps the nation together, right? Mm-hmm. Then what you're saying is that the nation must follow the dictates of Christianity, if that's what holds it together. Now, if that's the case, then why is it that we have, in the richest nation, we have people dying because they don't have health insurance and nobody cares? Why is it that we have millions of people losing their homes because somebody stole their money legally and not paying the price for it? The only ones who are paying the price are the ones who are at the bottom of the ladder. You know, so if you're talking about that, then if you really believe what you say you believe, then you need to express it more than sending $20 or $1 million to Haiti. No. Where is your heart? What are you doing for the people you see every single day? What are you doing to make sure that the white community is policed as much as the black community?
Right.
What are you doing to make sure that the same opportunities are across the board for everyone? Not just your lip service, but in reality. What are you doing? Nothing. Nothing. Because people like Victoria's Secret and other companies, several companies, can get cheap prison labor to make their products. Every African American woman on earth should never buy anything from Victoria's Secret, because it is the seed of this nation that's in prison that makes, I think it's like $1 a day making their products. The list of all those should be exposed.
I'm glad you said something. I hadn't been there yet, but I won't go.
I'm serious.
I'm serious, yeah.
And I'm not trying to make a political statement.
No, you don't have
I'm trying to make a statement of reality.
Yeah.
We cannot support things that are wrong.
Yeah.
We have to make some. It's one thing to do it if you don't know any better. It's a whole different ball game when you know better.
Well, we can't go to Walmart either then. I mean, I'm just saying because they're doing the same thing. The game is the same.
I don't know about Walmart. I do know about Victoria's Secret. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't. I don't. So what I'm saying is this. Nothing changes until we expose it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Nothing changes till we expose it. I'm saying that unless we do something in terms of our spiritual desires, then the whole of society begins to deteriorate. And the deterioration of it is evident. The very, very wealthy and the very, very poor, and nothing in between. That's where we're headed. If you stretch a rubber band, at some point, it's going to break if you don't stop stretching it. And that's exactly what's happening. And when it's broken, the very, very poor and the very, very rich. And the people who are the most adamant about supporting the system are the people who are white and poor.
So how can we tell when the deterioration of society is due to bastardization of the spiritual seed, or is due to the perception of it being deteriorated, but it's really not? It's not. It looks like it is because things are being exposed for what they really are, and when you're faced with that exposure, it's like the basis of everything you knew, the rug is pulled out from under you.
Yes.
And you think that things are just going to hell in a handbasket. How do you know the difference? It's only your level of awareness.
It's your level of awareness. See, people don't recognize the difference until don't recognize what's happening until it materially affects them.
And the reason I ask that question is because with everything happening right now, people think that, oh, things are worse than they ever were before.
And actually, they aren't.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So how do you? It's only your take on it. It's
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. I believe that we have to show them the spiritual perspective of the whole thing. Why is this necessary?
Or it could be that because we are exploring, that we're the only ones keeping it in balance, keeping it from.
But for one righteous
Yeah.
man, would you save the city? And that's
Even though it doesn't look like
look
it's
like
happening.
yeah. I mean, think about it this way. When the famine is in the land, it will not come down to thee. You know? What is that talking about? Regardless of how difficult things have been, all of us have been okay.
You're right.
All of us have been okay.
That's true.
You see what I'm talking about? Why? Because the Creator is obligated. The Father takes care of those who seek Him. Now, those who don't are allowed to hit bumps in the road until they begin to, take notice. Something has to change here. Let me show you something. This is the thing that really perturbs me. The poorest nations in the world are Catholic. That's where Catholicism abound. That's one thing. The poorest people, or the poor people in this country, and now middle class people, are being taken deeper into poverty by the church. Because the church justifies the system by saying, God bless America. America first, patriotism. That's what keeps people in line so they don't challenge the system. You don't love this country. The church is quiet as a ship. It is the church. Not one peep from the church when those people were dehumanized in Iraq. In Abu Ghraib,
In where?
in Iraq, in Abu Ghraib, not one peep from the church, because they're American soldiers. Not one peep from the church. When people began to lose their homes because of greed on Wall Street, not one peep. How come they did not come together and demand that something be done to protect those who could not protect themselves? You see what I'm talking about? Not one peep.
And just, it reinforces the idea that Christianity it's part of a manipulative system. Like that, it's the only purpose for its existence is to manipulate people. It has nothing to do with making their lives better or holding people accountable or any kind of moral system at all.
And it goes all the way back to its roots. Catholicism, it started as a manipulative system. It started as a system that if you agree with us, you don't have to be held accountable for anything. But if you don't, we're going to hold you accountable for stuff that you shouldn't even be held accountable for. Thus, the Crusades.
The whole idea of just buying confessions is just ridiculous all in itself.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
You got to have the money.
Buy those papal, do we have those certificates that let you do stuff?
Yeah.
It's like carbon tax now. Buying the right to pollute.
I see religion as a pimp.
Whatever
I'm
floats
just
your boat.
saying.
However it takes you to understand
It's
that
pimping.
that is not helping you move forward in terms of your understanding of who created you and what they created you to be. And I know that I'm out there on the limb. I've been there for years, don't care. You'll bring the questions, I will answer them. There is absolutely nothing in history to refute anything that I've said, but everything to support it. Not one thing, but everything to support it. And there's not one thing in the scriptures to refute what I'm saying, but everything to support it. The scriptures, the book is there for us to see who we are. You cannot see who you are if you look in the mirror with your eyes closed. You cannot see who you are if you look in the mirror with your eyes closed. You have to look in the mirror with your eyes open. And if the scriptures are a mirror, the eye that you must desire to be open, even if you don't know it, is the third eye. We say, I want to see you from a spiritual perspective. That's a request for the third eye to be open.
Please speak your full
Am I
name.
making sense?
Foundation.
I want to know truth. I want to understand what's really being said. That's what you are asking for. And that's when the mirror begins to clear up. The mirror is not really cloudy anymore, or as cloudy as it once was. You begin to see who you are. You begin not only to see who you are, but you also begin to make a difference in the world that you live in. And you are not manipulative. That is the reason, especially males who seek truth, has to be very, very careful about the females they connect to. Because those females, if they connect to the wrong female, they will manipulate them just like the Catholic Church does. Maybe not with Catholicism, not in that manner, but you have to be, if you are not strong, you can be easily, you meaning males, can be easily manipulated by females.
Well, connect that with the seed being surrounded
By female, okay. What I'm saying is this: if the seed is surrounded by the wrong feminine energy, then you get a false religion, a false concept, a false sense of comfort, and before you know it, you are so far off the deep end until you can't find your way back. You have to monitor your relationships, I should say, because this seed is not only Phoebe, if I just allow this seed to be surrounded by the feminine energy that's in it, plus the feminine energy that's in my house, I'm in serious trouble. Because the feminine energy in my house may not be able to see far enough or to nurture in the right manner. So I have to be also surrounded by the feminine seed of Barbara. She has to nurture this. Why? Because when I put that seed out there, if I don't see the clarity of it, for example, when you made the statement that you made, I truly didn't see that.
What statement?
About it being us.
Oh, okay.
I truly did not see that. Mm-hmm. But when I explained it, I was saying exactly that. But what happened? She nurtured it.
Right.
And gave birth to the reality, the clarity of it. You see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Now, if I were to wait for that to happen with Phoebe, we'd be here. Because she ain't gonna say nothing. You can count the time that Phoebe says anything in here. Or any place else except at home, for that matter. You see where I'm coming from?
Phoebe talks when it's just us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And maybe that is the case because somewhere deep inside there's a recognition of who I am and what my role is.
Yeah.
You know, what role I play.
Everything has its place.
Everything does. And
Yeah.
that's how we have to see it. And I'm not saying that to minimize the influence, effect, none of that.
Right.
I'm talking about something that's on a far greater level or a far greater plane than what we can ever imagine. As long as we keep relationships anchored in this realm, we're in trouble.
That's true.
We're in trouble. See, I recognize clearly that if it had not been the facilitation of Bob 11, we would not be where we are. That's okay. I recognize plainly that if I fail to say to her, the facilitation is yours in Philly, and I try to do it because we in another place and I'm the man, and I got to let these people see that I'm the leadership. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What happens? We fall flat on our faces, and the seed is aborted. Or an abortion of the seed would be a great thing, but the seed is birthed in a deformed manner.
Yeah.
You see, it cannot produce, cannot go any further. But I have to recognize, regardless of what anyone thinks, I have to recognize that because the male seed covers, because it is the husk that's around what's in it. Because I'm that covering, I have to be sensitive to how we approach things and who's supposed to do what. I have to be very sensitive to that. And my sensitivity to that is not shown by me always boasting about, yeah, I did that. But by virtue of mine, even behind the scenes, doing and saying things that need to be done and said. That's it. See, my connection to Barbara is far greater than brother and friend. Far greater than that. But I can't make decisions in relationship to what she does based upon our friend, brother, or education. It has to be what I see. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What you see.
Now, looking at it retrospectively, then I'll be through with this, I think. Looking at it retrospectively, when I first met them, meaning Barbara knows, right? Mm-hmm. I have never in my life met that many people at one time and remembered all of them and their spouses. That's a heap of them. Yeah, a whole slew of them. And I was only introduced to them one time. And I did not have to ask anyone, what's their name? You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And looking at it retrospectively, there was a connection being made there. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Now, at the moment, I didn't see it, but I did understand the influence, even though there was distance that Ms. Florence had in my life. I understood that. But I didn't understand the nature of it.
Right.
You see where I'm coming from?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand the nature of it. I began to to appreciate it more and more, because every once in a while, Barbara Jean called and put her on the phone, or she had somebody else call them and just talk to me, and I knew that something was taking place. I just didn't know what. So now I recognize it as saying to me without saying to me, not verbalizing it, but from a deeper place. You're the one to establish a tremendous respect for feminine energy. You must do that. That's what I get from that now. I can see it then.
I'm thinking too, Miss Florence probably said it is finished, so she needed
basically, she did.
Yeah, it is finished, so she needed to move on to another consciousness in order.
Well, since you said that, I believe that very rarely you find two people like, Dick Adams and her.
Mm-hmm.
You find one or the other, but very rarely you find both of them. I believe that the necessity of that energy dissipating from this earth was so that we can move forward. It's to propel us,
Right.
so that it can bring some clarity, so that it can be in a, God is greater than this, but for lack of a better, in a system. It's far more than that.
Yeah.
It's for this journey that we're on. I really believe that.
Yeah.
And there are people who will put me on medication for that, but that's okay. I really, really believe that. I truly believe that that's who we are. And that's the reason they were in our lives. And if no one else ever believes it, I say to whoever does that you should have been at the other building at midnight when she walked in.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
The all-nighter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not one person there misunderstood that presence. Not one person.
And it was so quiet.
Yes. When she stepped in there, everything went shh, and nobody saw her come in except me because I was at the front, but everything got quiet. So that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. And I think one of the, I just believe that those things are the things that affect our lives in a very, very positive way. A few years ago, I think it was about 4 years ago, all of my siblings were at my house from Philly, and all of us were there. And at midnight, Aunt Minerva walked in, who is the oldest surviving aunt, not by marriage, of course, that I have on my dad's side. At midnight, she walked in, and I was told that she said to one of her children, I need to go to his house. And that was very unusual for her, because she would have been in bed to get up and say, take me to James' house. I believe that has a bearing on who I am and what I must do. So those are the little things that happen, not little things. Those are the things that happen in our lives that we don't necessarily see the significance of them when they happen, but they're very, very significant. And coming in that place where all of the siblings from Philly being there, we were there, and now here we are connected in a spiritual manner to move things in a direction. You see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
That we never dreamed of. So all these things mean something. Now she's still, on this side, but all of these things mean something. I really believe it. All these things mean something. So I don't know where I am in this discussion right now, but I do readily submit that what has been discussed in here today, the questions that have been raised are not arbitrary, not in any way whatsoever. It's like when I sit on this stool or get in this position, it's like something clicks, and I begin to read what I see in front of me. And I'm not talking about this because the screen is blank. I'm talking about what I see from the other side. And you know how people say, well, I have been drinking, so I'm not responsible. Well, I'm talking about the spirit, so I'm not responsible. I'm intoxicated. I'm spiritually intoxicated, so I'm not responsible. But anyway, are there any questions? Is this stuff clear that we're talking about?
I just have a comment. When you talk about feminine energy and I mean, you're right. It's not until we started really dealing with it that felt like the missing piece
Yeah.
all along, not in terms of just us, but in terms of what's happening in general, that had to be rebalanced. And I don't know that there's anyone else consciously doing that. There may be some people in some societies who do that because that's who they are.
Yeah.
They just be that because that's who they are. I mean, from a deeper place, they understand that. But to consciously become aware of it and put it out there, I don't know of too many people doing that, because that's where the balance is. Even though it seems totally imbalanced, even a little bit as it relates to acknowledging the importance and significance of that feminine aspect balances everything else from the masculine perspective that's out there, even a little bit.
And you're right. I haven't heard of or met anyone who's consciously doing that. And as I said in the past, we must think like we're the only one. Because when you think that you got some help, then there are things that get by you. But when you don't think you're having to help, your head is on a swivel. You're trying not to miss anything, you know, and that's how we have to be. And to me, a strong male is not a male who dominates his house. A strong male is a male who dominates himself to the extent that he respects everyone else around. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
It's not, because to be honest with you, dominating this material world means absolutely nothing. I mean, look at what kind of shape we've gotten in through male domination.
Yeah.
Look at the wars, look at the destruction, look at the greed. You know, I mean, think about it this way. The establishment of this country was supposed to have been for the people, by the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now it's for the corporations, by the corporations. And everybody thinks that that's okay. You know, you can't get elected for president if you don't put business first. When in essence, the whole Constitution was designed supposedly to protect the people from the oligarchy or the fascist attitudes of business. But now it's just the reverse. So someone has to sound the horn. And when I say sound the horn, I don't mean necessarily standing on the roof of the building or marching in the street, because they stop you from doing that. The Patriot Act stops you from marching in the streets. So it's like the Creator is shutting down every earthly avenue for us to be able to do it, and forcing us through the eye of the needle. We have to come through the eye of the needle. The eye of the needle's womb.
For security purposes, this call.
They're all on there.
How many is on?
Like 8 people?
Oh, okay.
Everything you just said, though, we already have proof positive that's even the case, because in cultures where the feminine plays a prominent role in leadership, you have much less disparity in wealth between all of the people, and you also at the same time have a lot less violence. Right.
Now, let me say this right now. It doesn't mean I'm shifting the conversation. Once we end the recording, I want to continue to broadcast, because there are some things I need to put out there concerning some things that are about to transpire in this upcoming election thing, okay? I do this not because I want you to get so deep into politics, but I want you, it's easier for you to see the spiritual when you can understand what's transpiring in the natural, okay? Go ahead.
Oh, but I understand. That's all I was saying. I was just saying that everything as far as Western society, period, is a manifestation of male dominance. And
if you really look at the balance in a house, right? If the female is nurturing and doing what the female does in terms of a womb, right? Mm-hmm. the children get out of line, and all she has to say is, "I'm gonna tell the seed." What do your seed get home?
Mm-hmm.
You see? Why? Because the seed is not as, come on, baby, as the nurturing, gentle as mama. I'm tired. I'm frustrated. I gotta deal with this. Now, I know it's a case like Diane, case like Malika, case like so many other people. You have to be both.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very, very difficult task. But the task becomes easier, not easy, but easier if you have access or have influence or allow yourself to absorb the masculine energy that's around you, if it's a positive energy.
That's it.
Yeah, if it's a positive
If
energy.
it's a
Yeah.
positive.
And that's the thing. And the way you determine that is not only by what the scripture says, but also by what you feel. Let me show you something. I was going yesterday. I headed out, and this lady had been calling me a couple, for days. And every time I was tied up with something else. And yesterday I said, I'm gonna call her back when I leave the house. So I called her back, and I began talking with her. And she began to tell me some things that was going on about her, this, people laying stuff under my house. I got glass around my house, and the roof. And the more she talked to me, the more nauseated I became.
Mm.
So now I'm listening to her, but I'm also, okay, what's happening here? Then she really gets to what's really going on, what she thinks is going on. The males next door want to have sex with her, so she won't do it, so they work the roots on her. Okay, this is the first time it happened. No, all males all males around me are like that. So when you live in another state, did the same thing? Yeah, you see where I'm coming from?
Mm-hmm.
It happened. So now I understand what's going on. Then she tells me that a friend of hers, a male friend, is having a problem. He got the same issues, living in another state, that she's never lived in. So how did you meet him? Did y'all just go on Facebook and say, I got this thing happening to me, and he said, me too? No, but that's not it. They were drawn apparently to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And you know what happened? What flashed before me was this. The nausea is because you are recognizing that she is full of negative energy, darkness, confusion, and she simply wants attention. You cannot go to her. That's why Jesus did not heal everybody. There are some people who don't want to be delivered. They want the attention. Now, mind you, I had just left, Monday, wasn't it? Memorial Day. I had just left home, knowing that, Craig knows we're coming down, they go put stuff on the grill, to go take care of the situation, and in doing so, change the person's life. You have to know the difference. You have to feel the difference. But this particular one, I had the nausea, and I realized the depth of the chaos that's in that life that doesn't want to be altered. So I had to let it go. That feminine energy is nurturing confusion, and that's why it only produces more confusion, because it gets them the attention that they want.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Did you impart anything with her or in her, even though you were just talking to her?
May I say something at the risk of sounding arrogant? And I don't mean to, it's just who
Sure.
I am. No one talks to me without getting an impartation.
Okay.
No one walks past me without getting an impartation. No one thinks of me without receiving something. No one.
So So did she get what she apparently, I mean, did she get what she
She
needed
got
from
enough
you?
light to
Yeah.
make a decision, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
She had enough light to make a decision. And every one of us have the same ability that I just described about me. All of us have it. But just maybe the husk has not been taken off of it yet, because it takes a covering to make you more aware of it, so that you don't fall into the trap of using it for selfish reasons. You have to be very, very careful. See, it doesn't matter how people do or make attempts to upset me.
Mhm.
You know how people, they'll abuse me, they'll talk about me, they'll use me, all that kind of stuff. And some of y'all be more upset than me. I don't be, I'll be like, it's okay. I had to grow to that point. You see what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
And why am I there? Because if you call me and I say, okay, I got this, and I keep doing what I'm doing, then that means that something's been imparted to help you through something, right?
Mhm.
Suppose I do the other side. I wish that something happened to you. You see, that's very dangerous.
Mhm.
So the only wish I have for anyone is that their eyes be open, whatever it takes. That's it. And regardless of how you feel about me or express the way you feel, it can be the worst negative expression that's ever been uttered on earth or experienced on earth. It doesn't matter. When your pieces fall apart, I will do all I can to put it back together. No matter how you feel about me. What matters is that Humpty Dumpty get put back together again. That's what matters. Can you understand that?
Yeah.
That's who I am. That's who I was designed to be. That's I've always desired to be who I was created to be.
Mhm.
But when I began to experience it, it frightened me. And I began to understand that people talked about me being arrogant, and they talked down to me and treated me differently because it was the adverse energy trying to protect itself. And now it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. I have to do what I have to do.
When you get to that point,
Yeah.
you realize,
So.
yeah.
But anyway, I'm done. I do want to, people, if you choose to stay on, because there is something I need to say. Okay. Let me know.
Answering the question.
Huh?
I was answering the question.
You were answering the question? Oh, okay. Are you still recording?